a tiny group of islands north of Scotland. In today's video, we're gonna take you with us to the Orkney Islands. After our arrival in the self-catering cottage, we went to the capital of the Orkney Islands, and which is of course Kirkwall. Here you see the St. Magnus Cathedral. Was made by the Vikings when they arrived over here. Afterwards, after we went grocery shopping in Kirkwall, we went around the beach and we came across some goats and walked past the water. Afterwards, we drove to Birsay Moors, a beautiful location right in nature where you can spot all kinds of birds if you're lucky. There's a special observatory to look out for the birds across the low-rise water, which is a tiny lake or pond, if you will. There are many different types of birds. And in the observatory, there is a whole list you can cross of, which one you saw on the day, and take notes if you want to. And then we went on our way to Skaill, the town on the most eastern part of mainland Orkney, which was quite fun for the towns on the Orkney Islands are such small towns that it's quite hard, to be honest, to comprehend it. You drive past a couple of houses and then you're out of town. So if you're ever on the Orkney Islands, keep that in mind. Here in Skaill, we found a beautiful church with beautiful cemetery connected to it. If you're ever in the neighborhood, this was the Dennis Parish churchyard. And we went on to the Gloup, a dramatic collapsed sea cave separated from the sea by a land bridge about 80 yards wide. It drops down around 80 feet, with the sea still crashing in through the blowhole. The name comes from the Old Norse word Gloupa. Nearby you'll find an interpretation center for the wider area with some public restrooms, which is of course very nice. It's possible to enter the Gloup via a small boat. One very important part is, if you ever visit the Gloup, is remember that it's unfenced, and there's great care required that you not fall down. This thing called the Gloup is part of the Mull Nature Reserve, which is part of Orkney's beautiful coastline. There is also an extensive path network in the area, so if you like to hike, there are amazing round trip hiking trails. However, I really didn't have the time to do all of that, I'm afraid. And then we have, of course, the capital, the largest town on the Orkney Islands, which is Kirkwall. Kirkwall is the location of the headquarters of the Orkney Island Council. Quite interesting is that because of the Viking history of the Orkney Islands, the name Kirkwall comes from the Norse name of, and I'm gonna butcher this, Kirkwall, meaning church bay. The settlement has been established by Norsemen in the 11th century, and as late as the 1525 the name is recorded as Kirkwall, which later became Kirkwall and eventually became Kirkwall. The first mention of Orkney Islands is in the Orkney saga in the year of 1046, when it was recorded as the residence of Rognvald Brunson, the Earl of Orkney, who was killed by his uncle Thornfir the Mighty. In 1486, King James III of Scotland elevated Kirkwall to the status of a royal burgh, and in time it would return as Burgh Commissioner to the Parliament of Scotland. After the union with England, it combined with other towns to form the Northern Burgh, sending a single MP to the Parliament. In 1918, the parliamentary borough of Kirkwall merged into Orkney and Shetland. The population rose from 6,205 in 2001 to reach an estimated amount of people in 2020 of around 10,000. Skara Brae. Long before Stonehenge or even the Egyptian pyramids were built, Skara Brae was a thriving village. Step back 5,000 years in time to explore the best preserved Neolithic settlement in Western Europe. First uncovered by a storm in 1850, Skara Brae remains a place of discovery today. Visit a replica Neolithic house to see how its full interior might have looked like. Then follow the path that overlooks the ancient buildings, imagining what life was like for the farmers, the hunters, and the fishermen who lived here. The prehistoric houses still contain stone dresses and box beds. Northern Europe's best preserved Neolithic village. The Neolithic village of Skara Brae was discovered in the winter of 1850. Wild storms ripped the grass from the high dune known as Skara Brae, besides the Bay of Skaill, and exposed an immense midden refuse heap and the ruins of an ancient stone building. The discovery proved that the best preserved Neolithic village in Northern Europe was here, and it so remains today. Skara Brae was inhabited before the Egyptian pyramids were built and flourished for centuries before construction began at Stonehenge. It's some 5,000 years old. But it's not its age alone that makes it remarkable and so important. It is the degree to which it's been preserved, the structure of this semi-subterranean village survives in an impressive condition, and I would highly recommend you all to visit it if you're ever in the neighborhood, if you're ever on the Orkney Islands. So amazingly, does the furniture in the village houses. Nowhere else in Northern Europe are we able to see such rich evidence of how our remote ancestors actually lived in. The furniture they used in those days. The houses. All the houses are well built of closely fitting flat stone slabs that were set into large mounds of midden, household refuse, and linked by covered passages. Each house comprised a single room with a floor space of roughly 40 square meters. The fitted stone furniture within each room comprised a dresser where prized objects were probably stored and displayed, two box beds, a hearth centrally placed, and a small tanks into the floor, perhaps for preparing fish bait. And now let's talk about the artifacts. A rich array of artifacts and eco-facts has been discovered during the various archaeological excavations. They include game dice, hand tools, pottery, jewelry like necklaces, beads, pendants, and pins. Most remarkable are the richly carved stone objects, perhaps used in some kind of religious rituals. The villagers were farmers, hunters, and fishermen capable of producing items of beauty and sophistication with only rudimentary technology. What's quite interesting is that there are no weapons found here on Skara Brae at this settlement. Um, and given the fact that this settlement was not a readily defended location, it suggests that it was really a peaceful life right here. Most of the artifacts are now on view in the visitor center, just a short walk away from the main village. The profound importance of this remarkable site was given an official recognition in 1999 when it was inscribed upon the World Heritage List as part of the Heart of Neolithic Orkney World Heritage Site. The end of Skara Brae. Life in Skara Brae seems to have ended around 2500 BC, and no one knows why this seemingly peaceful life here ended. Some suggested some kind of flood, or perhaps even sandstorms that made the people of this village go away or go extinct, but no one really knows why. Now you can visit one of the earliest places in Northern Europe history, right in Burnie, Scotland. Ciao. Next up on our trip was a very special tidal island, reachable by causeway to explore Pictish, Norse, and medieval remains. And I'm, of course, talking about the Brough of Birsay. Brooches, rings, and dress pins are found on this brow and suggest a Pictish power center. About 200 years later, the Norse settled on this island in the 9th century, but lived peacefully amongst the Picts. And if you ever go here to the Brough of Birsay, there are still remnants of Norse houses, barns, saunas to be seen over here. It's separated from the mainland by a 240-meter stretch of water at high tide. So it's important, of course, that you keep it in mind that with low tide you can walk to this island, but otherwise, when it becomes high tide, you have to swim or wade. Brough comes from the word Birsay, which means fort island. And if you enjoy both history and nature, this really is a sweet spot for you all to visit on the Orkney Islands. And we finished our trip to the Orkney Islands by visiting the biggest city in the south, St. Margaret's Hope, and the most southern city called Burwick. St. Margaret's Hope is a village, of course, on the Orkney Islands, and is locally known as Hope or the Hope. It has a population of around 550 people, and is the third largest settlement on the Orkney Islands. It's a nice small village. It has a primary school. It has some little shops, pub, wine bar, quite interesting is that it doesn't have, fully fleshed out supermarkets. So when we were there, we saw quite a lot of grocery delivery services coming all the way from Kirkwall or from mainland Scotland. And then we went on to visit Burwick, a small harbour on the island of South Ronaldsay on the Orkney Islands. This was really tiny, and I have to state it again, very, very tiny small harbour. It has had a nice church besides it, and it has some ferries operating to John O'Groats in the summer. The name Burwick was first recorded around 1225 as Bardvik, derived from the Old Norse of Burwick, meaning Bay of Extremity, for its position near the southernmost point of the island. And that's really finished off our trip to the Orkney Islands. Thank you all for watching. Have a nice day. Ciao.